Hello, very good afternoon to you. It's coming up towards time for today's quiz. It's nice to be with you again. I really hope that you're enjoying your day. We've still got a couple of minutes to go. We're a couple of minutes ahead early, but it's enough time to get those pencils and papers ready. If you haven't got them, please find them now because we'll be starting in about 2 minutes' time. Nice to be with you again this afternoon. If you are with me, please just make sure that you just give me a name check on the comments section. Just put your name on there because it'd be nice to say good afternoon to you. So just a general tip with regard to today's quiz. I'm going to be doing 6 rounds. There'll be a break after the first 3 rounds where we'll go through the answers. And after that, we'll go and do the answers and then we'll do the second set of 3 questions. Good afternoon, Anne-Marie. Nice to have you with me again this afternoon. I hope you're well. I hope Paul's well as well. So what I will say is that if you have any questions that you're not sure about, just write down the question on a spare piece of paper, or maybe even on the back of the one that you're putting your answers on. That way you can come back to it, because you never know, that penny might just drop at some point. Okay, but the worst thing you can ever do with regard to a quiz is just to give your sheet in this case, keep it blank, because we're not going to swap the sheets over today, are we? You're going to do your own marking as well, so you can be as generous or as strict with yourself as you like. It's entirely up to you. But it is approaching time. We'll just give you just a couple more moments just to sharpen those pencils, sharpen your brain, those little grey cells, as Poirot would say. So the rounds today, we're going to have 6 rounds and we're going to do them in this order. First up, we're going to have a round on general knowledge, so just about anything goes with that one. And then we're going to have a round on animals. Then we'll have a mystery round, and I'll explain more about the mystery round when we get there. Those of you who've been with me before will know exactly what it is. Then we'll have a break and do the answers for those 3 rounds. Then we're going to come to round number 4, which is all about the 1980s. Then we're going to have a round on letters and numbers, and we'll finish off this afternoon with the letter B, where all the answers will begin with the letter B. It's as simple as that. So time to make a start then, if we are all ready. Question number 1, let's ease into the quiz nice and gently this afternoon, just to get us all up and running. General knowledge, question number 1. Oslo is the capital city of which country? There we are, Oslo, capital city of which country? So Oslo is the capital city of which country? Question number 2 this afternoon. We're off to the world of sport for this one. In which European city was last Sunday's Formula 1 Grand Prix held? Where did it take place? So last Sunday's Formula 1 Grand Prix, in which European city did it take place? I think Lewis Hamilton's having it pretty much his own way this season once again, which is good because he's British. But nice to see that the racing's actually got started again in the last month or so. So in which European city was last Sunday's Formula 1 Grand Prix held? I will ask you, if you, when you know the answers, just write them on your answer sheets. Please don't write them on the screen, not that anybody has, but please don't write them on the screen. Otherwise, we'll all get them all right. Or maybe we'll get them all wrong, depending on what your answer is, of course. So question number 3 on general knowledge. Now, we're off to the movies for this one. If you've got children of your own, I'm sure you'll know the answer. We were all kids once. So again, it's just a question of just stretching those little grey cells, because what I want to know is, in the film Pinocchio, what was the name of the toy maker who created Pinocchio? Disney's not the right answer because they made the film, but I want to know who the toy maker is that created Pinocchio. Okay, what was his name? Pinocchio's dad, in other words. Who made him? So we're looking for the toy maker there who made Pinocchio. Question number 4. Oh, this is a royal question here. I'd like to know who is 4th in line to the British throne. Who's 4th in line to the British throne? I can almost see you writing these names down now. So not counting the Queen, because she's already there. Who is 4th in line to the British throne? How are you getting on this afternoon? So we're 4 questions in. I hope you're doing well. But if there's a couple that you missed, don't worry, because I hope that you've written the questions down on the spare piece of paper and you can come back to them. But what I really want you to do is to enjoy yourselves the afternoon, irrespective of what score you get. please just write your answers down on a sheet of paper. Please don't put the answers on the screen because we're all... So, who is fourth in line to the British throne? Good afternoon to Graham. I hope you're doing well this afternoon. Question number 5 on general knowledge. Who plays the current Doctor Who on the telly? Who is the current Doctor Who on the telly? It's quite a good series, that one. I think my favourite was John Pertwee, but I'm going back to way back in the far distant future. But who's the current Doctor at the moment? That was question number 5 on general knowledge. Question number 6, although it's a sporting question, you don't have to know very much about sport for this one. What I'd like to know is which Premier League football team is the only one which rather doesn't have a vowel in the first 5 letters of its name. So what is the only Premier League football team? I'll get there in a moment, don't worry, I've practiced this enough. What is the only Premier League football team that doesn't have a vowel in the first 5 letters of its name? I don't know whether you're a fan of this particular team, but they seem to be doing quite well. They've been in the Premier League for quite a long time now, and I'd like to know which club it is that doesn't have a vowel in the first 5 letters of its name. That was question number 6. Question number 7, on your general knowledge. The French call this geographical feature La Manche. And apologies to any French people who are listening this afternoon with my terrible pronunciation. La Manche is what the French call it. But what do us Brits call it? They call it La Manche. It's a geographical feature. But what do we call it here in the UK? It's been on the news a lot in the last few weeks. The French call it La Manche. We call it something else. But what is that something else? So that was question number 7. Question number 8. We're off to the world of horse racing for this one. And what I'd like to know is the maximum amount of letters that are allowed in the name of a racehorse. So with a racehorse, you can call it anything you like, providing it doesn't have more than so many letters. But how many letters would that be? Okay, so what is the maximum amount of letters allowed in the name of a racehorse? So I hope you're doing well with these this afternoon. If you'd like a shout out, just pop your name up on the screen and I'll say hello this afternoon. Simple as that. So question number 9 on your general knowledge. We're off to the world of telly, going back to, well, when I was a kid. Which Womble, it was a great series, the Wombles, which Womble shares his name with a river that flows through Colombia and Venezuela in South America? It's one of the longest rivers in South America. It flows through Colombia and Venezuela. It all shares its name with a Womble from the popular television series of yesteryear. Mind you, I think they've been redone, haven't they? They've been sort of reanimated and brought up to date over the last year or two. But which river shares his name, or rather its name, with a Womble? I mean, I can see you ticking off the Wombles on your fingers here, just counting them up. So, question number 10, on your general knowledge, I'd like to know who was the American president when Apollo 11 landed a man on the moon? So who was the president of America back in those days? Man landed on the moon, as I'm sure you know, in 1969, but who was the American president at the time? Very good afternoon to Enid. I hope you're well. Enid, you missed questions number 1 and number 2. Now, this is the only time I'm able to do this because we've only just started and you missed the first 2 questions, Enid. So just for you then, question number 1 was Oslo is the capital city of which country? And number 2, I asked which European city last Sunday's Grand Prix was held in. So there we are, Enid, just for you. And that's the only time I will be able to do any repeats this afternoon. So if there isn't anything that you're sure of, please write the questions on another piece of paper so you can refer back to them. So those were your general knowledge questions. Okay, so we'll do the answers after we've done round number 3. So round number 2 is all about animals. Now the answers are all the name of an animal, or they have an animal in the answer. So question number 1 then. When there is a national crisis, and we've had quite a few of those this year, as you know, the government meets in Cabinet Office Briefing Room A to decide a plan of action. But what is this meeting called? So whenever there's a national crisis, the government, I'll try it again, the government, I got there, meets in Cabinet Office Briefing Room A to decide a plan of action. What is this meeting called? So we've had quite a few crises this year, and it's only August. Question number 2 on animals. Rockhopper, emperor, and king are all types of which animal? So rockhopper, emperor, and king are all types of which animal? Thanks for your message there, Enid. Yes, you're very welcome for those first 2 questions again. Question number 3 on animals. Now, the Greeks named this African animal, they called it a river horse, and they named it using their words for river and horse. But what do we call it? So the Greeks named this African animal a river horse using their words for river and horse. But what do we call it? So all the answers then this round, well, they're all animals. So we've got a pop music question for number 4. Going back to the 1960s, I'd like you to complete the name of this hit single for Alan Price. And the single was called Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Something. But what is that something? Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Something. Actually, spookily enough, Alan Price, who released that song, was actually in a group called The Animals. I hadn't realised that until just this moment. There we are, it ties in nicely. So Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Something. Question number 5 on animals. Once again, we're back off to the movies. And the film I'm going back to this time is The Jungle Book, the original one, the animated one from the 1960s. And what I'd like to know is what type of creature was Kaa? Kaa, Kaa, in The Jungle Book. What type of creature was it? I haven't seen the new one, the remake with the real people, but which creature was Kaa in The Jungle Book, the original one? So that was question number 5. Let's move on. Animals. Question number 6. Which animal is on the logo for the World Wildlife Fund? So they've got a nice logo and it's got one animal on it, but which animal is it? So the World Wildlife Fund, I'd just like to know which animal is on its logo. So I'm wondering if we've got lots of drivers out there this afternoon. I'm sure we have. And question number 7, I'd like to know which type of pedestrian crossing has been designed for pedestrians and cyclists to cross over the road once they've pushed the button on the traffic light. So which type of pedestrian crossing has been designed for pedestrians and cyclists to cross the road at the same time once they've pressed the button to operate the lights? It's got a certain name, this particular crossing. I'd like to know what that name is. It's the name of an animal. I hope it's going well for you this afternoon. As we move on to question number 8. What is the nickname of the Argentinian rugby union team? So the nickname of the Argentinian national rugby union team, they're called the somethings. I nearly said it then. That'll never do. So the Argentinian national rugby union team, they're known as the whats? Once again, it's the name of an animal, as I'm sure you know by now. Don't forget, if you don't know the answer, write the question down on a scrap of paper, on a spare piece of paper, come back to it in a little while. Question number 9 on animals. By what name is Jenny Ryan better known as on the television game show hosted by Bradley Walsh? So by what name is Jenny Ryan better known as on the television game show hosted by Bradley Walsh? It's a top show, isn't it? It's on every afternoon. But who is Jenny Ryan better known as? And lastly, question number 10 on the round of animals. What is the capital city of Peru? So what is the capital city of Peru? Now, how are you doing on these animals this afternoon? I hope you're doing well. So I'll just give you a moment just to collate your answers before we move on to today's mystery round. So we do find ourselves there. We're on the mystery round. And once again, it's a themed round, but I'm not going to tell you this time what the theme is. What I'd like you to do is to work out the theme for yourselves, and that will be the answer to question number 10. But I'll explain more when we get there. So all of the answers then have a common theme. So we'll start off with question number 1 on this mystery round. We're off to the movies, and I'd like to know which one of James Bond's adversaries, played by the actor Richard Kiel, appears in the films Moonraker and The Spy Who Loved Me. He's quite a fearsome opponent. Well, they all were, weren't they, really? Bond's adversaries. I'd like to know the name of the particular adversary, played by Richard Kiel, and he appeared in the films Moonraker and The Spy Who Loved Me. What was he known as? And don't forget, all the answers have a common thread. Question number 2 on this mystery round. Which group had 1960s hit records with Sweets for My Sweet, Love Potion No. 9 and Needles and Pins? So who had hit records in the 1960s with the songs Sweets for My Sweet, Needles and Pins and Love Potion No. 9? Who was it? Top act. I really like them. So they had quite a few hits. They were the 3 bigger ones that they had. Question number 3 on this mystery round. What is the name of the huge aquarium and marine life visitor association? Association. Let me try again. What is the name of the huge aquarium and marine life visitor attraction? I got there in the end, which is in Hull. So what's the name of the huge aquarium and marine life visitor attraction in Hull? Have you been there? I'm sure many of you will have done. It's a good place. Lots to see, lots to do. It's a long time since I've been there, but it really is impressive. So that was question number 3. Question number 4. Which name is given to something that is of considerable size and strength? So something that is of considerable size, of considerable strength, is known as something that is what? And don't forget, once you've got the link, you should be able to work out some of the answers that you're not sure about. So something that is considerably sized and is of considerable strength is known as something. Question number 5. So we're off to the small screen here, BBC One to be precise. Richard Madden played David Budd in which 2018 BBC television drama, which also starred Keely Hawes. Oh, she's a fine actress, isn't she, Keely Hawes? Richard Madden played David Budd in which 2018 BBC television drama, which also starred Keely Hawes. At the time when it was broadcast, there were lots of conspiracy theories on the radio and on the telly as they were coming up towards each episode each week. Great series, really, really talked about. I'm hoping that you will have seen it. Probably not as much as you are, though. Question number 6 on this mystery round. What name is given to a man who presents a child for baptism and promises to take responsibility for that child's religious education? So what name is given to a man who presents a child for baptism and promises to take responsibility for their religious education? I'm sure quite a few of you will have got the link already, but if you haven't, there's still a few more questions which will give you a few more clues as to the link. Question number 10. What condition is a person said to be suffering from if they have a sensation of whirling and a loss of balance associated with looking down from a great height? So once again, what condition is a person supposed to have if they suffer from a sensation of whirling and a loss of balance associated with looking down from a great height? They're said to be suffering from something. So that was question number 7. Let's move on. Question number 8 on this mystery round. What name is given to a computerized icon or figure which represents a particular person in a video game or an internet forum? It's got a special name. That's a bit long-winded, that one. I'll give it to you again. What name is given to a computerized icon or figure representing a particular person in a video game or an internet forum? So if you have the link already, just try and work out another answer from that link, how that might fit in to the answer to that question. Question number 9 on this mystery round. Which city in Morocco has a name that translates into English as White House? So which city in Morocco has a name that translates into English as White House? And question number 10 is, what is the link between all these answers? So I'll give you just a couple of moments then just to collate your answers. And if you have any that you haven't been sure of and you've written the question down on a spare piece of paper on the back of your answer sheet, I'll just give you a moment just to fill in any blanks that you might have. When I go to quizzes, I always try and make sure I've got an answer somewhere, even if it's hopelessly wrong. It doesn't matter. I just always want to send back a completed answer sheet. Doesn't matter whether it's wrong or not, because you never know. It might just be right. So let's go back and mark these off then. We're going to go back to round number 1, the general knowledge round. Question number 1, I asked you about Oslo being the capital city of which country? Well, that was Norway. Question number 2, I asked you which European city was last weekend's Formula 1 Grand Prix held in? Well, that was in Barcelona. Question number 3, in Pinocchio, what was the name of the toy maker who made him? Well, that was Geppetto. Question number 4, I asked you who was 4th in line to the British throne? So I can see you just working these out, writing them down on your answer sheet. So the Queen's currently on the throne at the moment, as you know. So first in line would be Prince Charles. Second would be his son, William. Then it would be his son, George. And then it will be Charlotte, Princess Charlotte. The order of succession changed so a few years ago to take into account women as well as men. And it's the eldest of the children that will get the succession handed down to them. So Princess Charlotte is 4th in line to the British throne. Question number 5, the actor who plays Doctor Who is Jodie Whittaker. Number 6, the Premier League team that doesn't have a vowel in the first 5 letters of its name is Crystal Palace. Number 7, the French call this geographical feature La Manche, but here in Britain we call it the English Channel. Been on the news a lot lately. Number 8, what is the maximum amount of letters allowed in the name of a racehorse? Well, that's 18. Can't have more than 18 letters. Number 9, which Womble shares his name with a river that flows through Colombia and Venezuela? Well, it was Orinoco. And number 10, who was the American president when the Apollo 11 mission landed a man on the moon? Well, that would have been Richard Nixon, President Nixon. Round number 2 was all about animals. And question number 1, when there's a national crisis, government meets in Cabinet Office Briefing Room A, COBRA. So the meeting is a Cobra meeting. Cobra was the answer there. Rockhopper, Emperor and King, hope you're still there, are types of which animal? Well, that's penguin. Penguin is the answer there. Number 3, the Greeks named this African animal a river horse and named it using their words for river and horse. What do we call it? Well, the Greek word for horse is hippo, river is potamus, so it's a hippopotamus. Question number 4. The song title for Alan Price was Simon Smith and His Amazing Dancing Bear. Number 5, the creature car in the Jungle Book was a snake. The animal on the logo for the World Wildlife Fund is a panda. Number 7, which type of pedestrian crossing has been designed for pedestrians and cyclists to cross the road at the same time? Well, it is a toucan crossing. However, I will allow tiger as well because a tiger crossing has been introduced in a couple of parts of the country. So either toucan or tiger will be fine. What is the nickname of the Argentinian national rugby union team? Well, they are the Pumas. Jenny Ryan is better known as the Vixen. She's one of the chasers, as you know. Who's your favourite chaser? I think I probably like the Beast best, but they're all good. I'd be privileged to get beaten by any of them. And the capital city of Peru is Lima. I know I took a bit of a liberty with the spelling of Lima, but Lima is the answer. So question number 3, it was that mystery round, and it was all about, well, working out what the link between each of the answers is. So which one of James Bond's adversaries, played by Richard Keel, who appeared in Moonraker and The Spy Who Loved Me? Well, he was called Jaws. He had those big teeth which could bite through anything, cable car wires, anything. There wasn't anything he couldn't chew through. Number 2, that group who had hit records in the 60s with Sweets from My Sweet, Needles and Pins and Love Potion number 9, they were the Searchers. The name of the huge aquarium in Hull is the Deep. The name given to something of considerable size and strength is Titanic. Richard Madden played David Budd in The Bodyguard. The name given to the man who presents a child for baptism is a godfather. The condition that you suffer from whirling and a loss of balance, we're looking down from a great height, is vertigo. The name given to a computerized icon or figure on an internet forum or video game, well, that's an avatar. The city in Morocco that has a name that translates to English as White House is Casablanca. So the link I was looking for were Jaws, The Searchers, The Deep, Titanic, Bodyguard, Godfather, Vertigo, Avatar and Casablanca. They are all films. So those were your first 3 rounds. I'll just give you a moment just to add up your scores. I'd be interested to know how you get on if you feel brave enough or you would like to, proud enough to put your answers on the messaging board. That would be very nice. As we move on to round number 4. Now, this is all about the 1980s. I appreciate the fact that several of you may not have been born. You may not have been around in the 1980s. Others of you, well, if you're as old as I am, may be a bit longer in the tooth and you'll remember them very well. So question number 1 on the 1980s. In 1980, which volcano exploded in Washington State, USA? It was a spectacular explosion because unusually the volcano didn't explode upwards, it exploded sideways and blew the side of the volcano off. So which volcano exploded in Washington State, USA in 1980? I really hope these questions are going to bring back some great memories for you. Number 2 on the 1980s. In 1981, who rode Altaniti to victory in the Grand National? Now, there was a film made about the horse and the jockey, and the film was called Champions. So who rode Altaniti to victory in the 1981 Grand National? On we go then, question number 3. 1982 saw the invasion of the Falkland Islands by Argentina, but what is the capital of the Falkland Islands? So 1982 saw the invasion of the Falkland Islands by Argentina, but what is the capital of the Falklands? So I'm taking a story from each year of the 1980s as we go through this round. Question number 4. In 1983, whose diaries split public opinion about whether they were real or not after they were published in the press? So lots of newspapers had these diaries. Some newspapers thought they were genuine, thought they were fakes. The public was undecided, but whose diaries were they? They were published in the press in 1983. And this is question number 4 on the 1980s. Question number 5. Where were the 1984 Summer Olympic Games held? What was the host city? So not the country, but the host city of the 1984 Summer Olympic Games. Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? 1984. But where were the Summer Olympics held? The name of the city that year. On we go then. Question number 6 on this round on the 1980s. What was the name of the Greenpeace ship that was damaged by fire in Auckland Harbour, New Zealand in 1985? So it caught fire. It was badly damaged. It was owned by Greenpeace, but what was the name of it? It was their main ship. It caught fire, but what was it called? On we go then. Question number 7 on the 1980s. Now, if you turn on the telly, quite often you see the Reverend Richard Coles on the telly these days. Now, he appears on lots of things. He's on chat shows, game shows, panel shows, you name it. More or less, he's on it. But in the 1980s, he was part of a duo, a pop duo, who got to number 1 in 1986 with the song Don't Leave Me This Way. But what was the name of the act, the group, if you like it? There was 2 of them. So the Reverend Richard Coles, he appears on the telly quite a lot at the moment. He's on loads and loads of programmes. He's always a celebrity on something or other. But with which pop group, or duo, I should say, did he have a number 1 hit record with in 1986 with Don't Leave Me This Way? At the time, the other person was more popular or more well-known, more famous than him, but I think it's probably the other way around now. On we go then. Question number 8. Now this will take you back, bring back some memories. In 1988, which weather forecaster laughed off some suggestions about an impending hurricane on his weather report on the BBC? A viewer had rung in querying whether there was a hurricane on the way, and he laughed and said absolutely not. And then within hours, a storm of immense destruction hit the UK. It was probably the biggest storm of the century. But which weather forecaster laughed off those suggestions that a hurricane was on its way to Britain? On we go. Question number 9 on the 1980s. Who beat Liverpool 1-0 at Wembley to win the FA Cup? So who beat Liverpool 1-0 at Wembley to win the FA Cup in 1988? I can remember this as if it was yesterday. So Liverpool didn't get beaten very often in those days. Indeed, nowadays they don't get beaten very often, do they? But in those days they were very, very invincible. But they were beaten 1-0 at Wembley in the cup final. But who by? And question number 10 on the 1980s. Living in Springfield, which family was introduced to British television audiences for the first time in 1989? So living in Springfield, which family was introduced to British television audiences for the first time? They're still on today. So those were your 1980s. So on we go then to round number 5. Now these are combinations of letters and numbers. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples to show you how this round works. So if I was to say to you, if 7D in a W was 7 days in a week, and if I was to say to you, if 52W in a Y was 52 weeks in a year, that's how you need to think to work out these questions. So on that basis, use the same logic. Question number 1, 52C in a P. So 52C in a P. What is that? 52C in a P. So just think of something that's got 52 in it and see if it works out, and you can work it out for the P. So 52C in a P. Question number 2. What are 64S on a CB? 64S on a CB. So I know I keep saying it, but if you're not sure, write them down on a spare piece of paper. Come back to them because you may well work them out. So what are 64S on a CB? Question number 3. 18H on a GC. 18H on a GC. So I hope you do write these down because you can use them on your friends. 18H on a GC. What might they be? So you just got to think sideways, laterally on these. Let's move on. Question number 4. 8L on a S. 8L on a S. So what S has got 8L on it? 8L on a S. Let's move on. Question number 5. 360D in a C. 360D in a C. So please use these for your friends later. 360D in a C. Number 6. 60M in an H. 60M in an H. Again, I'm finding it very hard not to say the answers. 60M in an H. What might that be? Let's move on. Number 7. 3B in a T. 3B in a T. So what T has got 3 B's in it? So when you do these for your friends later on, you can even work out some of your own. 3B in a T. They'll love it. 3B in a T. Now this next one's going to take us right back, this one. Number 8. 6W of HTE. 6W of HTE. What might that be? We all know this one. 6W of HTE. On we go. Number 9. 12D of C. 12D of C. What might that be? 12D of C. And lastly, in this round of letters and numbers combinations, now I realise this one might be contentious as everything changed on it this year. But what are 12S of the Z or 13S of the Z as of this year? But it's the same answer. So 12S of the Z, or with this year's version, 13S of the Z. But it's the same answer. I don't want to confuse you with that. 12S or 13S of the Z. So that concludes your letter combinations with numbers. And now we've arrived at round number 6, and this is all about the letter B. Now all the answers will begin with the letter B. It's as simple as that. Okay, so question number 6, we're off to the books and we're off to the movies. One, which serpent did Harry Potter destroy the Chamber of Secrets? He was good old Harry, wasn't he? Nothing seemed to faze him. Which serpent did Harry Potter destroy in the Chamber of Secrets? Good films. I really enjoy them. I thought the effects were good. I thought the books were brilliant. Very, very clever stuff. Number 2. Located near Birmingham towards Sutton Coldfield, what is the name of the golf course that has hosted more Ryder Cup tournaments than any other in the world? And don't forget, all the answers begin with the letter B. So it's the something. So, located near Birmingham towards Sutton Coldfield, what is the name of the golf course which has hosted more Ryder Cup tournaments than any other? That's anywhere in the world, beginning with the letter B. Number 3. Now we're off to the Bible for this one. 3 kings, the 3 wise men who came to visit Jesus, bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They were called Melchior, Caspar, and who else? Who was the 3rd wise man? What was his name? So one of them was Melchior, one of them was Caspar, but who was the other one? There we are, taking you back to your Sunday schools and your church services. Who was the 3rd of the 3 wise men who came bearing gifts to Jesus? One was called Melchior, one was called Caspar, and what was the other one called? Question number 4. What is the surname of the brothers Ashley and Jordan from the dance troupe Diversity? Ashley's more on the telly than Jordan, but Jordan's been on quite a few times. I think he was on I'm a Celebrity a couple of years ago, but Ashley, he's on everywhere. I think he's on lots and lots of programs, lots of these dance and reality shows he's on. They really know their stuff. They really know how to dance, but I'd like to know the surname of those brothers, Ashley and Jordan from the dance troupe Diversity. On we go then with the letter B. What is Bruce Wayne's alter ego? There we are. Who, I should say, not what. Who is Bruce Wayne's alter ego? Who is it? Moving on. Question number 6 on the letter B. Which music did Torvill and Dean dance to win gold in such style at the 1984 Winter Olympic Games? What was the music? Fabulous performance, still see it repeated lots and lots of times, as you know, on the telly. But which music did they dance to win that gold so sensationally way back in 1984? The name of the musical piece, please. Let's move on. The letter B, number 7. According to the film of the same name, which Scottish village appears out of the mist once every 100 years, but it's only there for a day till it goes again until another 100 years have gone by? So what is the name of the Scottish village? It's also the name of the film that it's in. It appears out of the mist once every 100 years. It lasts for a day and then it disappears again. And it won't appear again for another 100 years. What's the name of that Scottish village? That was question number 7. Oh, there's a Scottish theme for the next question as well. Situated in the north of England, what is the only English football team to play in the Scottish League? There's only one, and don't forget the theme of the round is the letter B. So situated in the north of England, what is the only English football team to play in Scotland, in the Scottish leagues? Let's move on. Question number 9. On the map of the London Underground tube system, which line is depicted in brown? What's the name of the brown line on the London Underground map? Do you get down to London much? Maybe you're playing in London at the moment. If you are, well, good luck to you. Okay, this will be nice and easy for you. But if you do travel into London reasonably regularly, on the map, which line is depicted in brown? And your last question of the afternoon, last question of today's quiz. Which city was Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé singing about in 1987 and 1992? So last question of the afternoon. Which city were Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé singing about in 1987 and 1992? So don't forget the theme of the round. They are all about the letter B. So I'll just let you finish your answer sheets. The good thing about this quiz is that you can mark your own answers. You can be as strict or you can be as generous as you like with your marking. No one will know, apart from yourself, of course. Okay, so let's go back and we'll find these answers. Round number 4, let's go way back to round number 4. In 1980, this was question number 1, all about the 1980s. In 1980, I asked you which volcano exploded in Washington State, USA. Well, that was Mount St. Helens. Number 2, who rode Altaniti into victory in the Grand National? It was also the name of a film about that occasion. The film was called Champions, and the jockey was Bob Champion. That was his name, Bob Champion. 1982, this is question number 3. 1982, I asked you the capital city of the Falklands, and that was Port Stanley. Question number 4. In 1983, those diaries which were serialised in the national press, some people said they were fake, some people said they were real. I asked you whose diaries they were. Well, they were the Hitler diaries. Hitler diaries. Question number 5, I asked you where the 1984 Summer Olympics were held, the name of the city. Well, they were in Los Angeles. Number 6, that ship, the Greenpeace ship, badly damaged by fire in Auckland Harbour in New Zealand. Well, that was the Rainbow Warrior. Number 7, the Reverend Richard Coles. As I say, he appears on the telly so much these days. He comes across as a really nice guy. He's really fun to watch. I really like him. With which pop group did he get to number 1 with the song Don't Leave Me This Way in 1986? Well, his singing partner at the time was Jimmy Somerville, and together they were the Communards. Communards is the answer. Moving on to question number 8, that weather forecaster who laughed when a viewer rang in asking if a hurricane was on the way, saying no, and then the biggest storm of the century hit within hours. Well, that was Michael Fish. I should imagine he's done well out of after-dinner speeches as a result of that forecast. If you get the chance, if you've never seen it, have a look. Just have a look on the internet. Just put in Michael Fish 1987 forecast, and there'll be dozens and dozens of clips of him on there. Number 9, I asked you who beat Liverpool 1-0 at Wembley to win the FA Cup in 1988. Well, that was my beloved Wimbledon Football Club, Wimbledon. And question number 10, living in Springfield, which family was introduced to British television audiences for the first time? Well, they were the Simpson family, the Simpsons. We move then to round number 5, and this was all about combinations of letters and numbers. So 52C in a P, well, that's 52 cards in a pack. Moved on to question number 2, 64S on a CB. Well, those are 64 squares on a chessboard. Number 3, 18H on a GC. Well, there are 18 holes on a golf course. 8L on a S. Well, that was 8 legs on a spider. Number 5, 360D in a C. 360 degrees in a circle. Number 6, 60M in an hour. 60 minutes in an hour. And then we moved on to the next one. And if you'll bear with me, I've just clicked once too often. There we are. Question number 7, 3B in a T. Those are 3 book trilogy. Number 8, 6W of HTE. Well, those were the 6 wives of Henry VIII. He was a bit of a boy, wasn't he, old Henry? I think he's probably my favourite of all the kings. Him and his daughter Elizabeth I. I think they were really good British monarchs. But let's move on. Question number 9, 12D of C. Well, they were 12 days of Christmas. And number 10. Now, I did say I realise this might be contentious. You can either have 12S of Z or you can have 13S of Z. It's 12 signs of the zodiac or 13 signs of the zodiac. They changed it earlier on in the year. They put an extra star sign in, which is called Ophiuchus. I don't even know whether I've pronounced that correctly. OPHIUCHUS, Ophiuchus. So because they squeezed in another star sign, it means all the other ones have been shortened, and the star sign that people have had since they've been born has changed. Mind it, I was a Libra and I don't really know what I am anymore. However, it was 12 or 13 signs of the zodiac. We moved on to the letter B. Question number 1, I asked you which serpent Harry Potter destroyed in the Chamber of Secrets. Well, that was the basilisk. Number 2, that golf course near Birmingham held the Ryder Cup more than any other golf course in the world. Well, that's the Belfry. The 3 wise men who came to visit Jesus, one of them was Melchior, another one was Caspar, and the other one was Balthazar. Number 4, the surname of the brothers Ashley and Jordan from the dance troupe Diversity. Well, they are the Banjos. Ashley and Jordan Banjo. Number 5, Bruce Wayne's alter ego was Batman. Number 6, Torval and Dean danced to Bolero. Bolero was the answer. Number 7, the film about that Scottish village that appears out of the mist every 100 years. It stays for a day and then it goes and comes back in another 100 years, is Brigadoon. Brigadoon. Number 8, situated in the north of England, the only English football team to play in the Scottish League is Berwick, or Berwick Rangers if you prefer, but you can have Berwick. Number 9, on that map of the London Underground, which lane is depicted in brown? Well, that's the Bakerloo line. And number 10, last question of the session, which city were Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé singing about in 1987 and then again in 1992? Well, it was Barcelona. So how did you get on? I hope you did well. If you'd like to pop your scores up on the screen, if you'd like to, I'd love to see them. If not, don't worry, your secret is safe with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Lots to be seen and enjoyed on the virtual Village Hall page. Something for absolutely everyone. Why not have a look at the schedule and see what's coming up over the next week or so? Because, as I say, literally, there is something for everyone. Lots to enjoy. I really hope you've enjoyed it today. Come back and let's do it all again very, very soon. I've been Dave Mustoe. Hopefully I'll be him again another day. You look after yourselves and take care. Bye now.